Welcome to episode 76 of the MiamiTech Pod. I'm Cesar, joined by Brian Breslin and the Maria Derchi. I added the in front of your. I don't know why. I just felt like you.
I don't mind it.
You deserved it. Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Summer's coming in. We're gonna record some IRL podcasts soon, right? Are we gonna do a live studio taping for our audience of 3?
We have to. It's more than 3. We've been hitting some numbies. It's been the stats are off the chart. Maria, how was your week?
It was good. I was up in Tampa meeting with the team.
You went to Brinks Steakhouse.
I went to Burns. It was delicious.
We'll talk about like technology companies in a second, all right? Burns Steakhouse. Give me your rating. I went the other day in Tampa. For those that don't know, it's like legendary steakhouse, 1 million years old, biggest wine list out of anywhere outside the Vatican. But you went to Burns like this week. What was for the first time, right?
Yes. I happen to be staying across the street from it. It was good, but I don't know. I think it wasn't worth the hype. I mean, the dessert room is worth the hype. The steak, I don't know.
Ooh, the shots fired. I thought,
yeah.
I went the other day. It was like good food, excellent wine as always, great dessert, but the service was like it was a Friday night. They were slammed, like hundreds of people in that restaurant. Yeah, I don't know.
That place definitely prints money. I went on like a Tuesday, so it was still packed, but it's an experience. It's like a 3-4 hour ordeal, but so it was good. But we were saying, yeah, it's something you do every now and then, but you wouldn't go very often.
Is this like old school steakhouse style, like Peter Luger's, like in New York or whatever? Like,
yeah, it was established in like 1950s.
Yeah, and they have like 1 million bottles of wine like in their thing. Maria's not impressed because Maria has been to every single restaurant in Miami. She's been to every Michelin star restaurant in like the last 6 weeks.
She has a jacket at home, no joke, that looks like she's an admiral from the Navy or something with all the stars that she's collected from every Michelin restaurant.
Not you guys love to
it's one of those what's that Miami's the shit bro jackets on the back, and then on the front it's just her Michelin collection.
Is that a thing? Like, can I buy a jacket?
Yeah.
From where?
At
Miami shit bro? At Cafe La Trova or at Sweet Liberties they sell it too.
Huh.
I think we all need one.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make one that says MiamiTech Pod is the shit bro.
I think we need some MiamiTech Pod merch.
We've been talking about this for
I know, like hats or something. Like T-shirts and stuff might be hard to, like, since they're not necessarily visible on our screen, but we'll make this happen.
Brian, you're looking very studious with all those books in the background. Are you in your library?
I am, and there's this is how I demonstrate to all my students that I am well read by having piles of unread books.
All your students at this point, all of your students were born after the year 2000, right?
Yes, makes me feel super old.
And they are like, "Excuse me, Brian, what are those behind you?"
But apparently, they know what slap bracelets are.
Oh, like the old school.
Like when we were little kids, they're making a comeback apparently, or
what?
Or they did a few years ago.
What do we think is going to make a comeback? I feel like we've seen a couple of them.
Jenko jeans.
Pokemon cards have seriously, like, I mean, ridiculous. Some of them are selling for like $500,000 or something crazy.
Wasn't like Jake Paul or Logan, one of them, like famous for having spent $500,000 on a Pokemon card and then putting it around his neck as like a necklace or something?
Yeah, one of those two. I think Logan Paul has done like millions of dollars of Pokemon card purchases in the last few years.
Well, the other day I was at a happy hour and I think Gianni had was it Gianni? He had a Tamagotchi somehow? Yeah.
Like chilling around, like just
like he stopped mid-conversation to like care for it?
To feed the Tamagotchi, like on his belt loop, like, check this out.
I think it's on his keys, but...
Oh, man.
Wild. All right.
We haven't had Gianni in I don't know why. We'll have to have him back to
Yeah, I want to
hear
know.
about his new pet.
Yo, do you think people have like maintained him alive since, early 2000s? Like,
You know that there's a weirdo on Reddit who has a living Tamagotchi somehow.
like
But like, how
on
do you change the battery? Like, can you change the battery to keep it alive? Or would it die as soon as the battery dies?
crazy design flaw if you swap out batteries and the thing dies.
Like, it has no permanent RAM.
Yeah, like what? Like this is what we need. I'm gonna go on this rabbit hole later tonight. If you're listening to this and you have a live Tamagotchi and or you're Gianni, like let's chat. I want to know more about this
All right, let's get to some news here, Cesar.
news. Well, I'd say there's been a lot of momentum recently in the Miami tech scene. A lot we've covered, but I think like especially after a bit of a like crypto slump, there was this narrative I saw on Twitter like, oh, a lot of people from Miami are quiet these days online, et cetera, over the summer. But in the last like 3-4 weeks, we've seen some pretty big moves. The first is that another top tier VC firm, Lux Capital, moved or opened an office in Miami, has one of their partners here. They've invested in a bunch of super, like hardware, like technology enabled hardware companies, a lot of like aerospace, defense, manufacturing. There are investors in Anduril and some solar companies and all of that. Pretty neat to see them establish a presence here. What are your thoughts on this move? Right, so now we have Founders Fund, Andreessen Horowitz, and Lux Capital, and of course Pareto and Atomic as within the last 2 years setting up a presence here, from either being based in California or New York.
I bet you it had a huge thing to do with the party they threw during MiamiTech week. I think they
At
all
the
had
Standard.
so much fun. I unfortunately didn't get to go. Did you went, Cesar? No.
I did. It was a joint party between Lux and Construct Capital, and Rachel Holtz, one of the general partners at Construct. She was a former Uber executive and friend, and invited me, and it was awesome. It was also like, who doesn't love the Standard? It's just like an all-time great place to hang out in Miami.
So I guess the question now is more of like, which big top tier fund is missing, like from our collection, like Sequoia.
There's a bunch, yeah.
Lightspeed, first round, yeah.
Like that's the thing we've been talking about for 76 episodes, right? Like, where if we're moving into a world where, like big law firms, like big accounting firms, you have your, New York, LA, Miami, Chicago offices. We're going to benefit tremendously from that. And it's like happening, right? Like, that's a pretty good pace for 2 years or less than 2 years worth of funds saying that we have a Miami presence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that means the people in the locals here in the next 2 years are going to have a easy peasy time of fundraising compared to 2019, right?
Yep. And you can now for sure make Miami a fundraising destination, right? Like, if you're raising a Series A, Series B, like those are, all of those funds have more than $1 billion under management. I don't know about Lux, but they're not small.
I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday at lunch, and he was like old school refresh member, and that's how I know him. And we were speculating as to whether or not there has been more funds raised by startups in the last year than in all of like 2001 through 2010.
In general,
in Miami,
Miami. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because like we were mentioning, like there's only like 1 or 2 companies that we knew of that had raised more than like 10 million in that era.
Another bit of news and momentum in Miami recently that you had Joey Levy and Jake Paul launch a micro betting startup called Betr. Maria, do you want to chat a little bit about it? I know Florida funders led the round to $50 million Series A in Miami. So like that one deal, eclipses the 10 million you were referring to, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'm
Oh, you're
sporting
representing.
for those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For those watching on YouTube, look at Maria.
I just picked this up while I was in Tampa this week.
Maria's doing the full. If you're missing this on the internet, the full tech bro outfit, hoodie, dark rim glasses, and everything. I mean, we're
I feel like I'm like the one who's always sporting whatever swag is relevant that week. Like 8 Sleep was on, I had to wear the 8 Sleep.
Let's be honest. You're the only one with a portfolio here. Okay, like
yeah. No one's sending Cesar and I like a whole collection of swag. Like,
hey, not all of them are my portfolio companies, but when there is,
my portfolio is sad and gray, like the polo I'm wearing.
That's not true. You shared a portfolio. You shared a company with me. You angel invested in that I still regret to this day I didn't pull the trigger on. But whatever, we won't get into that.
All right, what's better?
So actually, I'll start with like Joey Levy had started a company called Simple Bet. It was more of kind of a B2B play in the sports betting space, and then he kind of spun out this new company, co-founded by Jake Paul, the social media phenomenon boxer, and it's kind of allows you to enable kind of micro betting, and I'm sure I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this, but making micro bets on sports games. I think they launched just with the NFL this week. So let's say you can bet on who, instead of just the outcome of the game, you can do smaller bets like how many catches is this one player going to do, or will he throw his helmet, or I don't know.
Yeah, like the way I've seen it is like even more micro than that. They're like, in the next at bat, will it be a strike, right? Like that type of.
Yeah.
And to me, that's wild. Like the amount of technology you have to build to have potentially millions of people in real time betting on events. Like there can't be lag. You have to have the payments infrastructure for that. Like you have to have underwrite the odds properly in real time, which the only way to do it in real time is like through an algorithm. So you have to be right if you're like the platform taking the bets. Like you have to have the same underwriting that a casino has to have, where that there's a high chance that you're going to make money on the bet because of where the line is set. I mean, like that is a complicated business.
And I think what makes it more complicated is kind of they've launched this kind of like dual business where it's more of they're also becoming this media entity, kind of like Barstool Sports-esque. And that's kind of where Jake Paul and his following comes into play, of kind of creating this brand and lifestyle around it. Because if you just try to do this and go after your B2C company, it's really expensive. So how do you get those users in?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, Barstool did that when they got acquired by Penn Gaming, so there's that sort of flywheel effect of generate content, entertain a bunch of degens, and then they'll gamble either on your online or in-person, venues, and then make Portnoy rich all at the same time, right? So
Penn exercised their option to buy the full company. They bought a portion of it. Now they own 100% of Barstool. It's like smart. 30 states have sports betting. We'll get into it. We'll have Joey and those guys on the pod, and we'll go a little bit more in depth, because the interesting backdrop is that they're building that company in Miami, but Florida does not allow sports betting. They're like, for now, they had the whole thing where, negotiated in the Seminole Compact. You had, sports betting by way of the Seminole Indian tribe for like 30 seconds, and then a court struck it down, and they're in litigation, all that. But probably the largest state, right? I don't know if California has sports betting. I know New York authorized it, but
I think California does have it, but like affiliated with existing casinos and stuff like
Like
that. But
on premise.
yeah, like in racetracks and stuff like that. You know,
Got it.
like we should definitely have them on. I think it's an interesting like topic to also think about. Like, how does sports betting, as it's become more mainstream, changed the finances and the economics of sports?
Yeah.
Like, I think in DC, in the Washington, what are they called now? Like the Wizards, Capitals, Bullets, whatever.
What
Like
sport are you talking about?
the,
You just
the
dropped me.
NBA arena there, where the Capitals and the Wizards play,
Yes.
right? They have like a sports betting room in the arena, and
Yeah.
you can bet like live during the game on that same game.
Smart.
You know, and because DC allowed it, and and it was inside DC proper, um, and I think that probably counts for like half their profit.
Yeah.
You know?
Fair. All right. Other you know bits of news here and some momentum. A new prop tech company, Belong, moved their headquarters to Miami. The founder and CEO, Ala Resnick, is former Andreessen Horowitz, investor or entrepreneur in residence over there. And, they're building a tech-enabled property management company where, most individuals who have, a rental property in contract with a property manager hate their experience, and they're getting really like kind of customer forward and tech enabled, and trying to make a much better property management company than exists to date.
I mean, that's an interesting move, right? Because like if you're working with apartments and condo buildings and like property management companies in general, well, they're replacing property management companies, right? And so being somewhere where a lot of new inventory of homes are being built makes a lot more sense than being somewhere where there's no new inventory of homes being built, right?
Yeah,
So
and particularly, and Ala will come on the pod as well. I messaged him, but like particularly, I think the interesting move there. Well, two things: one on the product, and then one on the company and its story. Right, is on the product. Like there's always been this like last mile problem with getting that one individual who has two rental properties and a full-time job, and like it's not that big of a deal to collect rent once a month and like call contractors on your drive home, right? How do you make, and if it was a cost effective way to offload the management to the company, they would do it. But typically some of these property management companies will take like 1 month or 2 months rent for that service. So you're talking about, like up to 10% margin compression for using a property manager versus, just doing it yourself. And if they can somehow make it cost effective and unlock all of that supply, that's going to be super interesting. I don't know if that's their move, but yeah. The second thing that was interesting is like they move. You're right, Brian?
yeah, just kick the trash can without realizing it.
All right, cool. The second thing, it was like, they moved their company from California. They're like for ideological reasons. Another story of people fed up with the Bay Area and California, and like moved over to Miami. And it's like not a remote thing. Like the whole company's over here.
Well, Ale is Argentine, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think culturally, Miami probably is more home-like than San Francisco. And we've got just as many corrupt politicians as they do in Argentina. We got some good butchers, whatever.
Not even close. They're way better at corruption and meat than we are in Miami.
That's true. Argentina. That is true.
Well, the other big news in terms of fundraisers is Muckrack, which kind of relocated here. I met Greg, who's the founder I just checked. He reached out to me on Twitter like January of 2021. He was only here for the month. He was checking out the scene. We met for a drink, and then he ends up deciding to stay. I think he had like a flight booked, and then he kept pushing it out, decides to move here.
Is what I'm inferring correct, that you personally enticed him to stay, Maria? Is that what I'm gathering here?
No. I think he got into the cycling group down here, and they would go cycling every weekend, and so it was definitely a community effort. But great guy, decides to move the whole company here, and then they just raised 180 million Series A. They
That's
had
a lot of
bootstrapped
money.
it till now, so I think it was like the article says it was like the largest growth equity. Let me find it. The largest growth equity investments in public relations tech on record.
That's wild. What is? I'm not familiar with it. What is Muckrack? Like, what do they do?
Like PR lifecycle management software, like a dashboard tool. I don't know. I'm just purely guessing because I saw PR in the headline, and I can't think of anything else that would generate that kind of like cash flow.
It licenses software to communications and PR departments to help them manage relationships with journalists and content creators.
So I was completely wrong. Okay.
And they currently have over 200 employees.
Here in Miami?
No, I don't think. I mean, I don't know for
no,
sure.
No chance. We would know.
We would have run into someone. But going back to the whole belong thing, I think property management software is an interesting space, especially like if someone were to come out with an idea like around all these new recently upzoned accessory dwelling units and not sort of like unoccupied homes, but like individually managed homes or things like that,
Yeah. I think Airbnb proved to the world that most of what a property manager does can be automated, right? Like you have all of these people that just went all in on investment, short-term rentals, and have like a suite of tools, have like, like SMS tools that send auto text messages when the door key unlocks, or like the lock on the door is activated, and like all of these auto reminders and even motion detectors or noise detectors within the unit, and cleaning services that the moment that you close an Airbnb reservation, it pings the cleaning service to go clean the unit. Like all of that is, I would imagine there's parallels with the property management space, right? Like where, like a pipe breaks and someone emails you about it, and you can click one button and call an auto order a plumber. And there's like a lot less, sitting on the phone and triaging problems than there used to be in that industry. All right. Pause. We'll edit this out. All right. Let's
mark it.
All right. Let's shift to the last bit of news that's pretty interesting here. Diddy, that Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs Diddy, invest $2 million into Rec, a Philadelphia-based startup that builds co-creating spaces. Like they're about to launch one in Little River. Essentially like WeWork for creators, where they're going to have recording studios, editing bays, dance studios, event venues, co-working spaces, all of that for that large portion of the economy, the large portion of the tech community that we're seeing growing. That is just like a solo creator that's seriously monetizing their skill set, and they're going to have a physical location here in Miami. Maria, you know those guys, right?
Yes, Dave Silver, who's I guess the founder there. Great guy. I actually met him I want to say 5 years ago at Collision Conference. I think, I don't even know if he was working on this at the time. Maybe he did have it. And then, he was kind of scoping out venues earlier in the year, and I got a kind of a brief tour of the space before it's kind of been refurbished. So exciting news. And I think it'll open in 2023, right, Cesar?
Yeah, something like that. But that's wait, guys, 2023 is like
3 months from now.
It's right. Oh my God, it just hit me.
I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
I'm curious, like if someone has attempted the ClassPass version of this idea, like it's very CapEx intensive to put all these things into one space. But a lot of these types of facilities, dance studios, co-working, whatever, recording bays, a lot of them sit idle a lot of the time, and there could be an interesting, add-on for these rec people or for someone else to like create a distributed version of this.
It would be cool if Ramon at Trend integrated booking of physical spaces into Trend for all of these creators, especially since he has quite a few on the platform that are Miami based.
Oh, right. We still need to get his friend with the sex chocolate on.
we have not done that. We have a lot of inquiries for being on the pod, and it's a long list.
Well, I know there's like a class pass for co-working spaces. One of the founders, Nicole, lives in Miami.
That's
it's called
right.
Desk Pass.
Yeah.
Chicago woman who moved down here. Awesome person. But I don't know. Yeah, I assume they have like creator spaces on there too.
Do you remember there was another one called like Croissant or something like that was supposed to be like,
yeah, I don't know what happened
class
to that
pass
one.
Our day pass for co-working, but in restaurants that were like not serving lunch, and
that's pretty cool. That's a great
I don't know
idea.
if they were able to like make it work, but the idea was like you paid whatever $100 a month, and then you could sit at the restaurants and they would have coffee that you could buy, and that was it, and then the restaurants were like doing prep for the dinner service or whatever, but it had Wi-Fi and space, and cool. I don't know if that must have shut down. Anyways,
let's shift to some local issues. I like when we do this, when we, kind of bridge the gap between the crazy things that happen in city and county hall and, all of the entrepreneurs and people building cool companies here in Miami that are interested in that. Quasi on business and political story, quasi real estate, but Ken Griffin is on a real estate tear in Miami. I mean, he just bought this apartment building in Brickell that totals his investment to more than $400 million in commercial real estate in Brickell. He recently, it was announced that he was the buyer of the most expensive house ever sold in Miami, $106.9 million house that Adrian Arsh sold him. That's nuts. Like absolutely wild.
That also doesn't count how much money he's going to invest to build the towers that he's got planned in Brickell too. No. Like for Citadel, exactly. So like it'll be $1 billion worth of total assets sitting here. That's on top of the house that he already had in Star Island that we went to.
Yeah, there's only one. I would venture to say there's only one entity that has more commercial real estate than he does, and that's the government. Like Miami-Dade County, which yesterday it was announced in their budget meeting that the county is rolling out this county ambassadors program. And it took a little bit of fire from the Twitterverse, commenting on this. It was pretty wild. Like, they're going to give $25,000 to former county commissioners to be county ambassadors, plus benefits. So some are totaling it, I think, up to $40,000. So essentially, like, you're on the county payroll for life if you're a county commissioner, and your job description is to like show up at ribbon cuttings and say good things about Miami-Dade County.
What do they get paid now to be an active commissioner? It's like $40,000, or is it less?
Actually, no, I got those wrong. So it's $6,000 salary. It's not a lot. It's not a full time. $40,000 in total benefits package. The county ambassadors program is $25,000 that they're going to get paid to just like
show up at photo ops and stuff.
Be around.
Is there like a minimum amount of events they need to attend, or like
nope. It's at the will of the current crop of commissioners who will be hoping for that same cushy gig when they end their commissions.
So when are we running for commissioner?
When are you running, Maria? That's a good question.
Maria, you should absolutely be on the county commission.
Yeah.
It's wild to like, why can't they just, finish their term and like
Go back to being whatever.
Yeah. Like why do we have to pay them to stick around? I'm
surprised we don't have to pay for like security if they're trying to like say that they need security or something.
I mean, paying for unnecessary security or excess security is also another controversial subject that happened in the last couple of years in local politics, where a politician who shall go unnamed was supposedly spending like over $1 million a year on their security detail. Yeah. That's as far as into detail as I'll go on this.
Yeah. Look, whatever. I'm not one of these like politicians don't need security, right? Like we don't know the death threats people have received. We don't know, like fair. But former politicians, like other than the president of the United States, who has like Secret Service protection after they leave office and like, a library and all of that, but like nobody else, like governors are just like regular people after they leave office. Like, but Miami-Dade County, I mean, I think this is wild. Like, why are we going to pay county commissioners after they've done their job to do nothing?
I mean, it's sort of like a quasi pension, right? Like,
but they receive a pension.
Do they?
Yeah, they receive like they're in the retirement system.
6,000.
So wait, it was officially passed, so it's happening or no?
It's a good question.
I mean, the budget doesn't get finalized till October, and their commission's back in session now, I think, to sort of wrap things up before and so I think there's still a chance that it gets killed because it's getting so much negative press. But
and you had people like on both sides of the aisle attacking it outside, like Jason Pizzo, who's a state senator, was saying hard pass, absolutely not. Like this is crazy. Mm-hmm. There are certainly like other Republican elected officials I saw saying like waste of taxpayer money. Like it was, I don't know, man.
I'm curious, shifting the subject a little bit, like with the governor's election coming up in November. We've got Charlie Crist versus Ron DeSantis. I'm curious to see which of these two comes down to Miami, like with their hands out, to try and raise money from our industry. Because neither one has really had a strong relationship with this space.
Yeah, I'd say that DeSantis is going to dominate that, especially like in Miami, right? He's already had fundraisers with like a lot of people in the private equity world. Ken Griffin gave him the largest contribution he's received, $5 million. It's actually the record for the single largest contribution to a political campaign ever.
But does that go into a PAC or does that go straight into his coffers?
It goes into a political committee, which is essentially a PAC that has unlimited contribution. So there's no limit to what you can contribute into that. And it could essentially coordinate with a political campaign. So there's no prohibition on that. So most political campaigns set up PACs. You just can't like expressly advocate for a candidate. So they'll, run ads and say like Ron DeSantis, the leader who's cutting our taxes. As long as they don't say like Ron DeSantis for governor, then that's fine. Like this
is all a byproduct of Citizens United, right? And
no
changing the rules.
It's state laws. Like it's, we could have a whole episode on this, but like, Democratic Party does this all the time. Like both parties have, it's like customary to set up a campaign which has contribution limits and then a political committee that doesn't. And, there's very, very big glaring loopholes on how to get around the whole, like, you're not supposed to advocate for a campaign.
Yeah. Look, as a Democrat, and I'll disclaimer, whatever, like I think people have picked up on how I lean politically over 75 previous episodes. It does feel sometimes like the state of Florida Democratic Party doesn't know how to do a lot of these things and isn't really advocating for itself. But that's also like neither here nor there on today's topic.
But to your question on, will and should the tech community act as like a bit of a political block and fundraising block. Like, you know, I think it's happening already very like behind the scenes, very quietly in some of the, you know, like really wealthy VCs that have moved here recently. I know for a fact that some of them have done fundraising, you know, lunches for DeSantis, and I know Charlie's trying to, you know, court some of the left leaning ones and all that. But, you know, my prediction is that you won't have a voting block mentality, because so much of the tech community is like, look, I just want to build my company. Like, I don't want to donate to, you know, a political campaign, right? Like, there are some people who donated to you know, Mayor Suarez from the tech community here in Miami. It was their first contribution ever. Some of the people we've had on the pod said like, I don't even know what party he is. This is my first contribution ever.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I just think that there's a bit of lack of political involvement in that group.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's probably a cohort in there that never even registered to vote in the state of Florida, you know, like, and then there's also the, like, I've been so sort of turned off of politics by my experiences in California, New York, wherever, you know, that like, I don't care. This doesn't affect me, right? Like, I'm here because no one's bothering me, you know. But I do think it's important for people to, like, if they're gonna stay somewhere long term, to start getting active politically, whatever their beliefs are. You know, I'm not trying to sway anyone in any one direction.
Yeah.
You know,
don't wait till it gets bad, right? Like,
right.
That's
by then it's too late.
Go vote.
Yeah,
Maria.
I agree. I think this was like a whole segment on why you should go vote and write to your commissioners if you don't want them, or whoever, if you don't want them to make $25,000 for doing nothing.
Can we put that on a hoodie? Like, that was amazing.
that should be like the sort of clip that starts before the episode starts.
I think people should go vote and write to their commissioners if they don't want if they don't want them getting $25,000 for doing nothing. Maria Derchi. Boom, mic drop. That was amazing.
Have we, other than Francis, have we had any other politicians as guests on the show?
No, we're trying to focus on people building technology companies, Brian. I don't know if you've gotten the gist.
What? That's the theme of this show? I thought this was just a preamble before we all drink wine. Oh, man.
We should go drink wine. All right. Good episode, team. Have a great weekend. We will be with you all very shortly with some guests, some exciting episodes. We're getting close to episode 100. What should we do?
Party.
All right.
A live episode where we sell tickets that'll fund the next 100. So it's not straight out of our pockets every week.
Done.